Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I'll call the meeting to order. I think everybody knows everybody here. Does anybody have anything to address before the committee? With that, we'll move on to, everybody want to join me standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll review the minutes and then approve them afterwards if they're in order. May 20th, 2026 was the previous TSC meeting. There's a list of everybody in attendance. The meeting was called to order at 9 o'clock. There was some public comment and introduction there from with Darren White, the new Namakagon Transit Manager. The minutes were approved. There was no old business, new business. Commissioner Pino talked about the speed reduction at Muskie Tail Road and County Trunk Highway S on County Trunk Highway B. And it sounds like it was approved in this committee to move forward and proceed to the next process there to get that reduced. On the DOT side, Contos talked about the first quarter legislative updates and acts. Aaron Chris talked about some highway construction, as well as John McHugh talked about a project in the city. Round table, the ones that talked about issues or topics was Sergeant Rizzo talked about positions being filled with the patrol. McHugh talked about on Highway 63 and Main Street looking into grants. Chief Taylor talked about the rumble strips on County Trunk Highway CC were turned down by the Tribal Council. Assistant Chief Anderson talked about enforcement in new posts and the speed signs. Darren White talked about potentially having 6 new bus stops for the 26-27 year. And Haney talked about speed reduction in the area of Signer. Chief Deputy Deo talked about traffic grants and relayed topics for Chief Johnson about speed reduction on State Highway 2777 all the way out to T by the hospital. Pino talked about some construction projects there, and the meeting was then adjourned. If there's no additions, deletions, or corrections needed for the minutes of May, I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Savitsky.
I'll second.
Second by Rybczynski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no old business. We have no new business. Traffic, crash, and data maps. Dan.
Good to be back. We are halfway through the third quarter already. Striking. And start my shopping days until Christmas countdown again. Public service. So we're going to go back. We're going to take a look at the second quarter and see how the world is tracking along with us. Starting at the big picture, this is at the state level for crashes reported into the DOT and investigated by law enforcement, reportable crashes, 29,660. That's the preliminary number for the months of April, May, and June. And then you can see the 5 years worth of second quarter statistics before that. So we are tracking right about where we would expect to be for total number of crashes statewide. With the number of crashes, the injuries that go along with that usually track pretty closely, and they do almost 8,300 crashes in the second quarter statewide. The interesting number for us is fatalities. Just like last year, in the second quarter, we are down. And what's nice for us is the first quarter we were down, if you remember as well. So we are currently tracking at, as of this morning, 294 fatalities across the state. We average, if you take the previous 5 years, 573 fatalities. Last year was 581. The year before that was 583. So we're trending in the right direction. It's not zero we want to see, but at least we're heading in the correct direction. If we reduce that down to just percentages, we'll easier to kind of visualize. Crashes were about, like I said, we're about where we expect to be. Injuries right in that ballpark too. As the fatalities were down almost 12.5%. So we're going to push towards zero fatalities in the state. When we look county-wise, for the second quarter, all departments and jurisdictions reporting in for April, May, and June. 57 total crashes reported into the Department of Transportation. That's the dark blue number. The light blue number is the previous 5-year average. So in the second quarter, the previous 5 years, we averaged 74 crashes in the county. We only had 57, so that's a reduction of almost 25%, which is excellent to see. So as those crashes go down, you would expect to see the number for the different categories as far as injuries go down, and they are about the ballpark where we would expect to be. PO crashes are down just about as many. The rest of the smaller numbers and percentages fluctuate a little bit, but no red flags, nothing out of the ordinary for us across the county. If we take those injury crashes in the second quarter and lay them out on a map on the left side, you can see the location of all those A, B, and C crashes. And on the right side is the heat map, and it kind of looks like a shotgun blast, which for us tells us that there is no single spot where we've got a significant crash problem, at least as identified in the second quarter of last year. So that kind of dispersed pattern shows us that it's spread across the county. Looking at some of the driving behaviors, right about where we would expect to be as far as things are identified by law enforcement go. Nothing jumps out at us. One thing I can say is statewide, 65 and older drivers have been getting themselves into more crashes pretty much the whole year. And just about every county has seen a significant increase, or a noticeable increase, I should say, in crashes in 65 and older drivers. Not so for us, which is fine. It doesn't mean they were responsible for the crash, they were just involved in the crash. So I just point that out, that all your neighbors all around you and the entire region are experiencing an increase in older driver crashes. Try to keep that away from here. Looking at some of the other roadway users that are out there, other than automobiles and light trucks, so those non-Class D vehicles that are out there. The vulnerable roadway users, we had no crashes in the second quarter involving pedestrians or bicyclists. Motorcyclists, we had 3 crashes. That's pretty typical. 1 commercial motor vehicle involved in a crash. And no crashes in the second quarter for horse-drawn vehicles, which we haven't had one in quite a long time. ATV, UTV crashes with motor vehicles, school buses, railroad crossings, or wrong-way drivers. So that's good to see those be particularly bad. Looking at some of the other crashes for us, the manner of the crash for a single-unit lane departure crash continues to be number 1, and it, when compared to other methods of crashing, I can say that took a bit of a jump, but it continues to be, as we would expect, the number 1 type of crash we've got. So a vehicle leaves its designated lane, will run off of the roadway and strike something off the road, like a tree or a ditch, something along those lines. 28 of those continue to be the number 1 reason for us done for the year as is their practice halfway through the second year of the biennium. Legislation really doesn't move. Governor has signed no additional bills. These we've all seen and talked about before, but as you see them, if there's one that jumps out at you because you don't remember what it is or something along those lines, feel free to stop. There are, I would estimate probably about 125 pieces of traffic safety legislation that are still at the committee level, or even at the floor level. We don't expect any movement on any of those. So they'll pretty much get sent to the recycle bin and will come back next year. A lot of them will, so we'll see a lot of them again. And we'll start to pick up our legislative update probably in February of 2027. That's when bills start to hit the floor. Legislative Reference Bureau gets a chance to work on those. When it comes to safety messaging and marketing, we are in the beginning of a national mobilization for impaired driving. It will start now in the midst of, we've been doing it pretty much for the entire period of the 100 deadliest days of summer. That will drop off and then pick up again around Halloween, and will continue through basically St. Patrick's Day of next year. But we do have a number of national mobilizations that are going on right now with messaging that goes behind that. Some of the oldies but goodies, the Drive Sober campaign, those kind of messaging is out there. DOT is still doing the 2-track alcohol and non-alcohol impaired driving messaging along with the summer motorcyclist campaign. So those are getting pushed out now and will through beginning of September. In September, we've got the Child Passenger Safety Week. We discussed that last time. Carson Check Saturday on the 26th of September. Going into October, all the schools across the country are pretty much back in business. So it is Pedestrian Safety Month with an emphasis on looking out for kids walking back and forth to school. We do have a overlapping safety weeks, Teen Driver Safety and School Bus Safety Week coming up in October after all the kids are back. And then we start with the Halloween National Enforcement Campaign and messaging for impaired driving starting on the 25th of October. In November, Crash Responder Safety Week, the beginning of November, and then the traditional enforcement campaign around Thanksgiving, not only for impaired driving, but for occupant protection. So seatbelts, look at our ticket, starts again in November. And then in December, a series of impaired driving campaigns around the holiday season all the way through New Year's and into 2027. Try to convince people to drive appropriately when they're out on the road. We are rapidly approaching the Governor's Conference on Highway Safety. If you haven't signed up, if you'd like to do that, or take a look at the website that's on the slide there, there is a agenda that's published August 24th and 25th down in the Wisconsin Dells, Kalahari. Love to see you down there. Traditionally, if you remember back when the Governor's Conference happens, there's a free training day on that Monday. This year, we're doing a Monday-Tuesday conference, and the free training day will be on the 26th. So if you have somebody that wants to get trained up on traffic incident management, or E-grants, or DRE recertification, all that's happening on the 26th, and all that training is free. So feel free to jump on the website there and take a look at the agenda. I'd love to see you down there for the Governor's Conference. Always a good time. Still soliciting for agencies for the WISTAR project. This is the enforcement data going on community maps. So if your agency is interested in having traffic stops posted on WISTAR, please do let us know. We are actively soliciting to get folks that are on there. And one of the things that especially the sheriff's office, I don't know, is that if you want DNR data on there for crashes that you're doing for ATVs, UTVs, snowmobiles, whatever, WISTAR has to be activated for your agency in order for it to appear. So the DNR data is on community maps now after, I can't tell you how many years it's been that I've been telling you, checks in the mail, we're going to get that on there. It's on there now, and it's live, and we're showing DNR specific data for that agency right now, plus all the primarily sheriff's offices that are part of WISTAR. Their data is appearing on there as well. So if any agency is interested agencies that have been hanging in the list, waiting for the opt-in form to be signed and sent back to DOT. So if you're one of those agencies, check your, I don't know, check your spam box or wherever email may have been sent to, so we can get you an outline. Speaking of community maps, a lot of things are happening in the world of community maps, a lot of changes that are on there. We've got the place of last drink data is now going on the map, and it's going to be live. We've got a few agencies that are participating in that. As I said before, the DNR data is now on there and live. Lots of other stuff that are going on there. So if you have any questions or issues with community maps, feel free to join us for our monthly 1-hour online Zoom meeting. Super informal. You can just jump on there and ask questions. To be honest with you, we've got a lot more interest in folks asking for a 1-hour online meeting for new employees that want to learn about community maps, or somebody who's a basic user who wants to use the advanced features or predictive analytics. More than happy to jump online and do that for anybody that wants it, one person or a group of people. My information, let me know. Myself or somebody else can get on there with you and make sure that we accommodate your schedule and get those folks trained up as you would like. The tribal and county profiles have now been updated for 2025. Now that that data is official, so also on community maps, the TSC resources tab. Every county and tribal profile has been updated for the 3 years, 23 through 25, that we do. So if you want a snapshot and see what the traffic trends are in your particular area, jump on there. It's a short little PDF with lots of graphics on there, lots of pictures, so people like me can even understand it. It's not a big wordy text document. So those have been updated. Feel free to jump on there and take a look. Steal the graphics that are on there, use them for annual reports or committee presentations or whatever. Think that it's yours, no one will know the difference. For those folks that are using Badger Tracks, just a heads up for you that the date for the annual conference for Badger Tracks has been announced. It is December 8th. It is a day-long virtual free conference. The agenda has not been established yet. I'm sure they will send that out as soon as they get it, but just to save the date for you so you can mark it in your calendar. Feel free to jump in and out of whatever workshops you think are appropriate for you, and then spread the word for those folks who want to learn a little bit more about what's coming up in Badger Tracks. And finally, the educational piece that we bring for you this quarter comes from our colleagues over in the engineering side of DOT. They wanted us to talk to you about a publication known as the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Some of you may be very familiar with it. I have a subject matter expert sitting right next to me. I'm going to answer any questions that you've got about that. But the manual is called the MUTCD by the cool kids who like to talk about it. And this is what it happens to look like. If you've never seen one before, it is quite the tome. The MUTCD is created by the federal government from the Federal Highway Administration, and it is a reference manual so that all the traffic control devices across the country all look pretty similar. So, lots of examples about what highways look like, what the signage is supposed to look like. Everything from pavement markings to light rail signals are all contained in this manual. And every state is required to adopt this manual or one similar to it, and Wisconsin is no exception. We write this manual, the Wisconsin version, into state statute. So this is state law, and for the different states, they have the option of either just adopting this manual like it is, and some states do that. They can modify the manual, and Wisconsin has chosen to do that, so there's a supplement that goes with this. Or they can create their own completely different. So Minnesota's got their own manual, California's got their own. Texas rips the cover off of this and puts one big Texas flag on it, so they have their own. They have to say they have their own. What Wisconsin does is they've got a supplement that goes along with this, and it modifies things a little bit for how we do things in Wisconsin. And what DOT's been doing recently, which is pretty nice, is they've been rewriting this manual so it is, when you look online and you can search for the Wisconsin MUTCD, they will just Wisconsin language in there, or they'll edit out language that they don't want taking effect in Wisconsin. And then what they do is they type that in blue so you can tell specifically what the Wisconsin verbiage is. You can say what you want.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about this too, once my part comes up. One thing that's really common, and I just got an email on it just today, is we'll have people driving all over the place, right? Even in other states. So they'll have a situation in Wisconsin that I think it pertains to something in another state regarding a sign. And then I'll get a message saying, hey, well, in Missouri, this is true. So this guy just went through Missouri and he says, can we put this sign up where I live? So same thing, right? So you can go to the book, and I do it too, see if something like that exists, which sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't always happen that way. So the standards from state to state typically are the same, they aren't for some situations. So just moving forward, just think about that too. So it's super common. You can think of all the normal things that come in that people question, and this is one of them.
So the manual contains different standards. It's got options in there for local traffic control, all kinds of great information that's in there. I don't recommend you print it out unless you really want to. It's about 1,200 pages, so just use your discretion. There's also another manual that goes along with that called the Traffic Engineering Operations and Safety Manual, or the TOPS. That applies specifically to state highways and provides additional guidance, but it is out there. It's currently being revised to bring it up to the current standards. But this manual is usable by counties and municipalities as well. There's some good information that's in there and will be available soon. So what are some of the changes that were made? This manual actually was published by the feds in 2023. It took until just now for Wisconsin to bring it up to Wisconsin standards, so just 2026 is the Wisconsin version. The previous version to this was 2009, and every time they publish it, there are things that do change. Some of the noteworthy changes that come from our engineering colleagues have to do with intersections and the way intersections are regulated. So looking at the progression of traffic control at intersections, trying to start with the least restrictive that's appropriate for an intersection and working their way all the way from no control all the way through traffic signals. So that has been revised a little bit. Speed feedback signs are being standardized across the country and in Wisconsin, and these are very popular. You see them all over the place, and people have an opportunity to put them up in their problematic areas. But they come in all different flavors and varieties. They are being standardized. The new approach is going to be to post them on the same post as a regulatory speed limit sign. So you'll have the speed limit sign, the feedback sign right below it. So a motorist gets instant feedback about whether or not they are driving at the appropriate speed. And then those feedback signs are going to be standardized. And DOT is actually going to come up with a list of approved products that you can use to choose from. And they're all going to be standardized. They're all going to be yellow feedback signs unless they're in a school zone that it can be that green, yellow color that pedestrian and school signs are. Work zones can have orange, but they're all going to be standardized that way. Any signs that are up right now that are being utilized, they can continue to be used until they hit the end of their useful life, and then when they're replaced, they should be replaced with the new standard. Yeah.
Sorry, normally I don't hijack Dan. There's so much. These are obviously very common. You see them everywhere. You have to get a permit. We do not pay for them. So it's up to municipality, whoever wants to pay for them, then they're in charge of the maintenance. Okay. We allow it based on the location and so forth. So just something to think about. We've gone from a point where no one has any money, which I totally get, where we've had private owners or whoever donate money to get these up. The only thing that I ask you, if you put them up and you don't maintain them, it looks bad, right? So you're coming in municipalities, I'm seeing them all the time now. So now I'm making phone calls because this is something they wanted. Now they're finding out 5 years after the fact, you can't get parts for them, you can't do whatever to them, so they have to get a whole new one. Now, let's say, and don't quote me on this, but let's, $3,000. Well, how am I gonna come up with $3,000? Okay, well, that's fine, then let's take it down, so now when we come into your town, it doesn't look like a paperweight. So just something to think about moving forward on this one, so.
All right. Other changes, you may have seen on some of the guide signs, reassurance signs, trailblazers, placards over the top that designate a route as an alternate route or guide people towards an emergency route, those kind of things. Those are, motoring public doesn't really understand what those are, so those are gonna come down. They're gonna be replaced with the green signs you see there to help better illustrate for the driver exactly what they're looking at. So a little bit more verbiage on there, just to guide those motorists on those routes. There's a general realignment of signs that are not in compliance with the color schemes. So for instance, general information signs like this, you see here, the Adopt a Highway sign, which were white in Wisconsin. You've already seen them starting to be replaced with blue signs because blue is the color for informational signs. So a general realignment with the standard color scheme that the MUTCD has. Pavement markings on state highways are going to be going to 6 inches. And local roads can still be 4 inches if they'd like, but they can also be 6 as well. Higher visibility, better able to see them, and better able to be detected by lane deviation devices that are in modern automobiles, as well as, God help us, autonomous vehicles that may be coming to a roadway near you sometime soon. So those markings will be wider, and they've already started painting them in the 6-inch scheme. Traffic signals, more emphasis on engineering judgment and not so black and white as it was before, so allowing the signal engineers to be able to use their good judgment when they're taking a look at them, which may have been a little bit lacking previously. The rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RRFBs, are very popular. You see them more and more around the state. Those were never in the MUTCD. It was in a supplemental document. Now it's in here, and they're meshed into the rest of the traffic scheme. So those devices are now being standardized and put into the big picture.
Same thing, going back to that previous one, same deal, okay? It's a permit process, you go through me, just because I'm in charge of your county. I'll look at the intersection where you're thinking you want it. It does already have to be a permitted crosswalk, meaning that we approve the crosswalk crossing a highway. And then, same deal, this would be something you would have to pay for. So you'd be in charge of the maintenance and everything like that. We got a project going up north. We do have a road construction project coming through. They're still on the hook to pay for it. They're working with us and the contractor to get it installed prior to the pavement and everything getting done. So just stuff to think about when you have a project coming up, whether it's a local project or a state job, you know, it's something that we can work together on this, but regardless, you're on the hook for payment.
Very effective devices. And finally, one of the things that'll be changing will be school zones. There is a current scheme for marking school zones and school zone crossings and those kind of things. Those are going to be replaced with a different signing configuration. So as those signs are replaced, they'll be replaced with the new configuration. The old school speed limit sign, which you see in the middle there, is actually 3 different signs that are now printed on one sign. It's a regulatory speed limit sign with the school placard over the top, and then the when children are present placard on the bottom. They just print them all on one sign, since that's the standard in the state. Those will be replaced with the next one over, which is adding a 4th placard onto it, which is fines double, to alert motorists that if they get in trouble in a speed zone, their citation is going to be significantly more expensive than it was. So that will be the new sign. As the old signs are replaced, they'll be replaced with the new school speed limit signs. These are just examples of the speed. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, so, couple things on this is, when you guys had a school zone, okay, say that first picture there on the far left-hand side, what's the thought process on giving someone a ticket? When you see a school zone ahead or a pedestrian type ahead, and then you see fines higher, what's the thought process on that for you guys? What would warrant it? So if you had a speed limit of 55, I'm saying, or say 45, if someone's not speeding, can you still take them for some, I'm not talking about that, like a seatbelt, what would be a thought process for you guys on them? Or if say if they were speeding, say if it was 50, or say the speed limit was 55, someone was going 60, but you did see pedestrians or school children on the side of the road. Would that be something for you guys to say, they're speeding, and because there's children present, I think this is something that I need to act upon? Or no? Yeah? Okay. And I'm just kind of playing dumb here, but just from that standpoint, just because this gets brought up a lot for us from school zone's perspective. So I got asked for a school district. It is along one of our highways, but there's like a barrier with trees, but there's a sign up front showing that there's a school. So it's a little different scenario where it's not wide open. Well, they said they had a speeding issue there, and they asked me if I could do a speed study, and I knew this was coming down the horn. So like if you would have a normal speed in front of the school, it was 55. Well, because of the school presence, and if you see children, it drops down to 45. So in this case, it's gonna be 10. So I went out there with all my equipment and did all my studies, and Joel told me, but I think the average speed was 57. And I just said to him, I said, that's not crazy at all. You know, and this is what we're getting in general, and you guys know this, but I just wanna give you this information. Well, now, these signs are gonna get put up just prior for school for them, and then I said, now I'm gonna go back out there, and I'm gonna retest. And then I said, I'm gonna present to you guys the information. I wanna do it to you guys too, because I think we all know, right, just by changing the sign, doesn't really matter, per se, unless you have a little bit of backing enforcement and whatever. So just moving forward, just something to think about, you know, if we do have a school zone where we do think there are problems, you know, this is gonna come, you know, so we're gonna have a lower speed limit in here, but depending on what we do about it, speed might not change. So just something to think about moving forward.
Is there a criteria that has to be met, like on 53, Northwood School District? You know, they're off the roadway, but you still have that traffic and,
It's still a school zone, so
Yes.
that's gonna change it, that sign, that's one of the schools that we've had issues with before, we're doing some modifications in there in the future, but from that standpoint, it will go down to 45. So, that's just something, now the question that everyone's been wondering, and I kinda brought it up as well, when does that stop? I mean, school can stop at 4, but we know practices run until 9 o'clock. You know what I'm saying?
Well-
So what is the real language on that? And you guys know this in general, if someone is going over the top from a speeding aspect, or you feel it's unsafe, then that's it.
that might be the question that ends up being before the judge.
Yes, correct, 100%. No, I know, but that. So anyways, but I'm hoping that the next meeting that we have in November, that I'll just bring my data, and I'll just show you guys, here's a scenario, we changed the signs, and this is what we're getting for results. So. Sorry, the last time, that was it, you finished.
Well, that's because I'm almost done, that's why I say that. So the current signs that are out there are fine, they're appropriate. If you want to add the fines double placard underneath current signs, you can do that. The last thing I would point out is if you've got any signs in the area, and you would know better than I would, that is like the one on the far right-hand side, instead of saying when children are present, it says when flashing, and maybe it has a beacon over the top, or it's got LEDs embedded into the border, those need to be removed. Those are not legal in Wisconsin, they're not enforceable. Wisconsin doesn't allow for variable speed limits, so those need to be removed. And I know some places are thinking about putting them in, just caution them that it is not appropriate for Wisconsin. It's got to be the when children are present sign. They can have a beacon and they can have a flashing border, that's fine, but don't expect that to be an enforceable sign. As always, I leave our information at the Bureau. If there's anything we can do for you, feel free to let us know. None of the information has changed on there. Usually this is the map of death because somebody's left or resigned or retired or who knows what. But it's been pretty stable for us for a while, so good for us. And my contact info, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Pending any questions you've got, Sheriff, that's what I got for you this time around.
Thanks. Anybody have any further questions for Dan? We'll move on to the roundtable. We'll start with you, Mike. Lieutenant?
I just want to point out again, we're still in the midst of our speed grants. We have two concurrent speed grants going on at the same time, a speed enforcement and a seatbelt grant. Those are winding down at the end of September, and there's still significant amounts of money still in there. We are struggling to get them filled, so I foresee some of that money going back to the state. We also have a on-site visit from our RPM, David Domes. We'll be stopping in tomorrow and going over some of the criteria for the reporting and then looking at some of the numbers on a blind audit for one of the two deployments that we had here in April. So aside from that, our numbers traffic-wise are pretty good. We've had a lot of contacts, and as far as seatbelts go, and even child restraints, out of over 500 contacts as part of this grant process, we've only had one child restraint citation. So there's a lot of compliance out there. So I'd say good work, good messaging out there. That's all I have.
Thank you. Chief?
I did receive, I guess, kind of secondhand information, and maybe John, I don't know if you got this too from Derek about 77, the speed out there. Were you going to touch on that, or do you want?
I mean, I can, otherwise you want to. I know he had an issue up there. He had talked to our state legman, and I think he spoke at the town of Hayward meeting, possibly.
He didn't speak at the town of Hayward meeting. He
Okay.
actually spoke to Rob Lang, the highway supervisor, and then who came to me with it. But
Yep.
just basically complaints about the speed zone being the 45 zone starting out by Wheeler Road instead of by the bowling alley. Because coming off of Airport, especially making a left-hand turn there, it's pretty hard to see around that curve with the trees. And it's 55 miles an hour, say the average speed 62. That's pretty quick coming around the corner. That was just information. He was wondering if that's something that the state would entertain at some point. I didn't know if John should bring it forward since it's a state highway, not a town road. But I just wanted to get that information out there. That's all I have.
What was the location again?
So it's pretty much from the bowling alley. What's the closest road to the bowling alley out there? Which one?
Riverside or Duffy.
Riverside or Duffy. That comes into town on 77 there. But what I suggested to him is go to the town of Hayward and have the town of Hayward petition to the state to Howard. Because it wouldn't come from the county, it has to come from the municipality, correct? As a petition?
It definitely could come from the county. It doesn't matter, it just can't come from like an individual
Right.
property owner or anything like that.
So I guess what I instructed Derek to come from the town of Hayward, I would sign it and send it to the state.
Yeah, which, any of that would be fine.
Okay.
So, and like when we say to you guys, like when this stuff happens, what has changed, and I get it, safety issue, okay, we'll look at the crash data, see if we had any crashes in that area. But what has changed in that area to warrant it? You know, is that business more popular now than what it was 10 years ago? Is there some sort of, you know, I have no idea, boat launch area? Okay, is there anything in your guys' mind that would say, yeah, that there is a change, there's a context change of the roadway based on new apartment complex, so we have multiple people coming in and out, or whatever. So what I do then is, based on the information that you guys give me, you know, it's not a done deal from the aspect of me doing the study, it's just doing my research, coming back to you guys, say, you know what, based on the crash data that I'm seeing, based on the context of the roadway, nothing has changed for 15 years. Is it seasonal versus, you know, then that's another aspect, right? Because the speed studies that we do is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's one of the biggest complaints that we get, because we'll get some, or further up north, that will say, hey, we gotta check this on the weekends. Well, you know what? If it wasn't for summer and the weekend, there'd be 10 cars. Not to say it's not an issue, but just something. So just something to think about moving forward.
And I would just touch on that too, is that new campground was put in out there, which brought in a lot more traffic, and they redid the road. So I think people are driving a lot faster now. We had a lot smoother road than what was before. So I think that's some of the things that warrant
And then,
definitely to look at.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and I would say like in a letter like that,
Okay.
just state those reasons. Those are the reasons that we're thinking. So,
And I think an added issue there, if the airport can articulate an increase in traffic there, would additionally warrant
yeah.
the issue.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Aaron?
I should be done talking now, right?
Well,
I'm sorry, guys, I'm
well-
not trying to, so-
We appreciate you here.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. So anyways, I don't know if, so I'm Aaron Chris, Wisconsin Department of Transportation Traffic Engineer. I'm one of the ones in charge of your county, just to introduce myself. Just a few things for me as a construction update. We have the Teal River Bridge temporary signals that we're doing. Supposedly still October 24th is the open date. That's what they're thinking. This past week, I guess they were working on the approach slabs. And then we have State Highway 27. I was trying to get, they think that the detour might be done by Friday. So, and then the rest of the culvert work is gonna be just a flagging operation. Is that kind of what you heard still?
Yeah, actually, the meeting was at 9 o'clock today, this
Okay.
morning, so I missed it. But from what I heard, by the end of this month, that the culverts will be done and then it'll be open to flagging operations for the milling and paving part
Yep.
for the next, what was it, 18 days, 18
Yep.
some days or something?
Supposedly September 22nd,
Correct.
so.
Yep.
And then a couple other things I had for you. One is just with the crash reports that you guys do. And Dan, I called Dan on this. Okay, if it's a work zone, if you think it's a work zone, it looks like a work zone, just check that box for me saying that it is a work zone. Because when I review the crashes, it's a big deal, you know, and not to say with community maps, I still go through all the crashes anyways. And then if it looks like it is a work zone, then I'll make the adjustment myself. But it just makes it a little bit easier on me just from that standpoint, because then when I go to the public and sort out my data, I can say this is what we have. So just something to think about for that. The other thing too is if there's any damage, like if there's a damage to a culvert, property owner culvert, anything like that, just please check it. Do whatever you can, because we're kind of getting some complaints from property owners saying that there was a crash, their culvert is destroyed and needs to be replaced, and we just don't necessarily have all the documentation for that. So, and not to say it was from a crash, but just an FYI for you guys. And then another thing is work zones in general. I know I'm gonna talk to you because of the bank going up, okay? I'm more than willing to help you guys if we have a new building going up and we got to do some sort of traffic control, okay? And if it's state highway, I'm involved anyways, but even if it's somewhat a local, I'm more than willing to help out for that too. So what the problem is we have a project ongoing in a different location, and the project's been going for basically a month, and we have 13 work zone crashes and 1 pedestrian hit. So my thing is when we do this, when we look at this, we can cut accesses, right? So if we have different routes from a certain business, if there's an alleyway, whatever, we can do certain things to close the main access off that main drag, and people can still get to the business. It's not gonna hurt anyone. The problem that people have though, is if you're in charge of it, you have to talk to the property owner about it. Okay, that's the problem. That's what they don't wanna deal with. Well, now, here's a situation where we have 13, it's crazy. And if you go through this area, if you go through it, you'd be shocked at what's going on. So just, again, I'm more than willing to help you guys on different situations. If we gotta close access, we all just have to man up and talk to the property owners to make a change. And in the end, you can say there's lives at stake, no different than anything else. So something to think about. And then the last thing, this doesn't pertain to your county, but if you do travel, the tentative date for the Blotnick Bridge for the complete closure is February 28th. If that's not gonna be the case, it's gonna be early March. So just something to think about with your travels and everything else, because this is gonna be one massive project and there's gonna be a lot of people involved. So any questions for me from a DOT side? Sorry for talking too much. Okay, we're good? All right,
Thanks, Aaron.
thank you.
Dan, anything additional? John? All good in the city. Railroad Street looks good. Made a difference in the traffic flow otherwise. It's amazing how much traffic that, that street accommodates.
Yes, sir. The state don't care. Well, that, I said the state don't care.
Assistant Chief?
I don't really have nothing. We applied for the 2027 BIA.
You may want to hit your speaker there.
So we applied for the 2027 BIA traffic grant. We have not had any word on it, but if accepted, which we have in the past, that'll start October 1st, run through September 30th of next year. In that case, the BIA pays us extra overtime and whatnot to get out and do extra traffic control. But other than that, and I talked to John several times about the new post project. That seems to be working well. We're getting officers down there to enforce those stop signs more often and the speed. And I will here soon move our speed trailer down there. So, but other than that, nothing else.
Could you take just a minute too, and your agency investigated that traffic fatality there? Just kind of give us a briefing of what happened. Probably still under investigation there, but.
Still under some investigation, but the initial report was a couple, I believe they're traveling southbound on Double N. The passenger wife, she was reading a book, had no clue what happened, and the vehicle swerved off the east side of the road, went into the embankment, hit a few large boulders and wrapped around some trees. The driver was pronounced dead on the scene. All seatbelts were all worn by all passengers. The passenger was not injured, but does not remember anything of it, so it was quite a horrific crash. Right now, I think the investigating officers are working on maybe contacting State Patrol to get the black box information out of it. But we're briefly under the impression that it may have been in some kind of medical situation that caused that.
Okay.
Coroner's office isn't doing a pulse.
What's that?
They're not doing a pulse.
No. I called the coroner the other day, he refused to do it because there was no crimes involved and no other occupants, so.
Okay, thank you. Chief?
Is that the first fatality in Sawyer County for the year?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have anything, down 2 full-timers, so filling the traffic grants for lieutenants is getting kind of tough, but both SROs will be going to school here soon. We have a guy coming out of the academy in October. Glad Railroad Street is done. I think our only road closures coming up are on Main Street for the Check 40 race in September, and probably a few parades for the schools and probably Christmas parade and whatever else they come up with, parade-wise. I don't think I have anything else.
So your assistant chief position is open? Are you gonna fill that, or are you gonna let it go?
I don't know what we're gonna do yet,
Okay.
because one of the full-timers I have was hired on a COPS hiring grant 2 years ago. The city council says to find $50,000 when that COPS hiring grant ends in 2 years. So instead of being in a bind 2 years from now, I don't know if we're gonna do something else to ensure that we can keep that road guy, because, you know, either the road guy or the SRO, I wanna make sure we have the road cover all the time. Between 6 guys and myself, it's, 365 days a year, 24 hours coverage stuff. But we'll see what we do. Probably we'll know more during budget season, I think, September, October.
Okay, thanks. Sergeant?
Nothing much, just we plan in the coming couple months here to do some speed details with 2 to 3 troopers, hopefully on 27, 63, and 77. When we can have the guys all working the same day to do those. Otherwise, we have another trooper in Bayfield, so it's just another resource close to the area. Our motor carriers are still doing crash reduction details in Sawyer. Other than that, recruit class is at 33. Graduate in December, I don't see any of them. I'll say, there's no guarantees any of them will come up here, just unsure at this time. Other than that, we're supposed to have 2 more classes, a lateral class and 2 more classes after that in 27. So hopefully get our numbers up. That's all I got.
Thank you. John?
Just a couple things really quick. I know we approved that speed reduction at Muskie Tail at our last quarterly meeting. The signs have been put up. We just got them up not too long ago because had to go through the other committee, Public Works for approval. I have not run a new speed study there yet, but I plan on doing it just to see if the signs have had any effect on that area. Other than that, County F and Double D construction is underway. We currently have the top mat on County Double D, and we were up to, I think, Robin Lane on County F with the top mat. We are not paving today. We are still shaping. We're actually we're cutting a lot of that road out and fixing those corners, so it's gonna be a nice ride. Everything we paved so far has been a nice ride. So expect that. A lot of logging traffic. We had another incident with a log truck down there yesterday. Same one as before, just to let you know. They're just flying through there. A lot of ATV traffic through our construction zone. It's a lot of traffic down there. Definitely once this road is done, I plan on doing a couple different speed studies through that area. Because I just feel with the amount of traffic and what I've seen down there in the past 2 days, it's been crazy. So, other than that, I don't know if anybody has got an opportunity to drive down County Double N and CC intersection in 6 Mile. We did do a lot of brushing down there. I did receive feedback from LCO. They were very happy with it. They do want us to move our excavator once we get done with paving up by Dreamcatcher, up on County N, and clear that. They have a couple other spots, so I'm open here. If anybody's got any other issues with intersections, just email me so we can address them. The only other thing is we did have, I had a complaint on County B at Lumberjack Festival, the new crosswalk. So the existing crosswalk was there before I started here, was an illegal crosswalk. We had moved it down to the intersection, which is now a legal crosswalk, which is better visibility. I had a complaint last week from the Lumberjack people there that the cars are speeding through there really fast and want me to do something about it. I reached out to Marshall. Marshall has taken action upon it. I just make you guys aware, there's nothing else I can do. I can put every sign in the world up there. People ignore them, you know what I mean? So I did tell them there is options that they, you know, like we just talked about today, the feedback sign or maybe that beacon sign, the rectangular flashing beacon sign. If they want to pay for that, I'm more than happy to put it up there at the crosswalk. Like I said, we can put as many signs as we want. People got to follow direction too, so. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Thank you. Jeff? Chief?
With your crash data for the computer, if that car, if you need help with a warrant, I can give you a template if you need that, if you haven't done so. Other than that, I have nothing.
Okay. The only thing I really have is, I know there's discussion about construction zones, and I'm very adamant about the importance of law enforcement assisting our crew workers on those construction zones, whether they're independent contractors or our county workers. And the commissioner and I have had a lot of discussion about the work zones. He's called me on my phone, and we are happy to work with our staff to make sure we have additional law enforcement out there to enforce. We know where the zones are, and we have put out memos to our staff and the lieutenants on that as well. We will do our best to have your back. We want to keep our workers safe and the public safe as well, and it is a huge concern. We are in it together. Yes, so.
Additionally, at Double N, they're still laying fiber up there, aren't they?
Correct, they'll be there for a while. They're about done on the county portion of it, but now they'll be on town roads. So they'll be there for a while.
So I have nothing more with that. Anybody else have anything they want to add for the roundtable that was missed? Okay. No other items. We can confirm our date for our next quarter. November 18th. November 18th it will be. With that, no other items on the agenda. We are adjourned. Thanks, Mike.
No, you're probably right, no,